First interview of 2017, former federal prosecutor and Judiciary Committee member Congressman Trey Gowdy joins us. Congressman, good to have you with us tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So you heard all of that, and you're very familiar with this case. What do you think about the 9th Circuit Court's decision, and do you believe that President Trump was in the right when he said that people could not travel here from those several countries?
Well, Martha, anyone familiar with the 9th Circuit is not surprised at their opinion. I think there's a really easy remedy that I think would build consensus across the entire country. You have to view people in different categories. They're U.S. citizens, which are entitled to the full panoply of constitutional rights and due process. In the other extreme, you have someone in Yemen who's never been to the United States, who just wants to visit Graceland. They're not entitled to any due process. They're not entitled to any constitutional protections. And then you have the group in the middle. So my counsel to the president, and I'm sure he's receiving his counsel because he's got access to much better lawyers than me, you have to have a different evidentiary basis depending on the category at bar. U.S. citizens is one category. If you have a visa and you have relied upon that visa to either rent an apartment or put your kids in school, then you do have certain property interests that you would want protected. Therefore, you're entitled to due process. So I think his executive order is pretty easily remedied, and you can remedy it without going to the U.S. Supreme Court.
So there's an indication that it was written by basically outside counsel and not run by the DOJ. And you just pointed to a number of holes in this initial executive order. What do you think about the fact that that's the way it was apparently done?
Well, I'm going to say this, Martha. There's a reason very few people ever raise their hand and volunteer to be the leader of the free world. It's a hard job. It's an important job. He's about a month into it. Tom Brady wasn't a very good quarterback his first year. Neither was Peyton Manning. I'm prepared to give this president time. He's never served in the House. He's never served in the Senate. It's up to, in my opinion, up to his advisors, including his legal advisors, to say, Mr. President, with different categories like non-immigrant visa holders versus U.S. citizens versus non-U.S. citizens, there's a different legal analysis, and it's incumbent upon his advisors to provide him with the evidentiary basis to withstand a court scrutiny.
So it sounds like you think they also need to fix the legal side of this, but they also need to communicate better what it's really about and what the president's powers are in terms of protecting the nation.
And that's the most troubling part of the 9th Circuit opinion, quite frankly, to me. If your viewers, there's a case called Zavadas that the 9th Circuit relied on. If your viewers were familiar with the facts of Zavadas, they would be outraged. That's the case that the 9th Circuit relied upon. And the other part that's troubling is the commander-in-chief is elected, but judges are not. And you don't want federal judges overlooking battle plans or decisions to strike certain targets or decisions related to war or national security. It's not a blank check that the chief executive and commander-in-chief has, but you certainly don't have to clear everything with an Article III unelected federal judge.
What are your thoughts on Mike Flynn and the fact that he had to resign and discussions that he may have had with the Russian government about sanctions that we had against them? What's your take?
My take is that the commander-in-chief, the president, and the vice president have the right to rely on advisors that provide them the unadulterated, complete, whole truth. And it's unfair to the president and the vice president to give them anything other than that. I have never met General Flynn. People that I know that respect him, respect his service to the country, and I would join that, but you have to tell the truth to your boss all the time.
Understood. Are you surprised that this information, the transcript of this phone call, got out? That somehow, and now it's being perhaps pointed at former Obama officials who may have leaked this information, and I think about the fact that you wanted very much transcripts of conversations that had to go from the White House to the consulate in Benghazi, and you never got them.
Well, thank you for remembering that. My Democrat colleagues have amnesia. I will say this, they are very well rested, because for 8 years they didn't lift a finger to do oversight. So all that energy you saw today at their press conference, that's because they went on an 8-year-long vacation from doing oversight over the executive branch. So I am all for the committees of jurisdiction looking into it. I'm also for looking into how classified information can make its way into the public domain. That is not a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's a legal issue.
Trey Gowdy, thank you very much. Congressman, good.